May seem like a while ago, but we headed into the weekend Friday night with Steve Bannon getting convicted. The Trump aide was basically found guilty of everything he was accused of. So the first thing he did was go on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show afterward. And that's a MAGA audience there that may not have seen the hearing the night before unless they flipped around. Fox wouldn't air it and got this version of the events.
The idea you would send someone to prison because you don't like his political views. There's no allegation that you organized January 6th or were there, stormed the Capitol. It's like fully insane. I didn't think this could happen. We'll start there. Did you think this could happen?
100% I think it happened. Here they took away every possible defense so somebody can have a defensive law. Okay, that's why we didn't even put under defense.
How do you feel about going to jail? Are you confident you would be safe there, for example?
First off, if I go to jail, I go to jail. I will never back off. I will never back off. I support Trump and the Constitution, and I'm not backing off 1 inch.
For the claims you heard there, fact check, true. It is true that Bannon was not charged or convicted of anything relating to storming the Capitol itself. Whether he hid evidence because of his worry about that exposure, no one knows. But he was convicted of simply not participating in any way in the process, of defying the committee at a time when so many loyal Trump aides and his own children cooperated to some degree, even though at times people took the fifth. Tucker Carlson also making basically sympathetic arguments. So what he's saying in those selections we showed you are not things that are false, but are designed to present the idea of Bannon as some sort of victim. It is a wholly sympathetic view of the Trump world in this probe. But that is only one part of Fox News, and here's what's interesting tonight. There are other Trump-friendly outlets taking a very different tack, including two newspapers in the same Fox News parent company run by Rupert Murdoch. The New York Post condemning Trump now, based on all this new evidence, saying, quote, "There's now no defense for the refusal to stop that violence." Or the Wall Street Journal, influential in both conservative and business circles, of course, saying about Mr. Trump, quote, "Characters revealed in a crisis. Mr. Pence passed his January 6th trial. Mr. Trump utterly failed his." And there are media outlets separate from, say, MSNBC, which, full disclosure, is on the news and has its own relationship with Fox. But I want to show you other headlines here saying it's clear that Murdoch is tired of Trump, and there are basically condemnations coming from these Murdoch companies. Meanwhile, on Fox News itself, where millions of conservatives still get their news, which is also owned by Rupert Murdoch, there may be further splitting. Tucker's going to Tucker, but take a look at this.
Laying out all of these 187 minutes makes him look horrific. It really does. The president's inaction and the vice president's action getting on the phone is very telling.
You'll notice the banner underneath him said why Trump waited to stop the riot, like they were going to explain it, but that anchor there, Mr. Baer, saying it all looked horrible. Meanwhile, Americans are paying attention to this evidence. We see local papers here, this is far outside of the Beltway or New York, talking about what they've learned from the evidence. Trump's broken pledge, the words he was never able to speak, and the carnage wrought by that president on that violent day and everything that led up to it. As for Americans, they continue to follow this closely. We live in a time of great cynicism and sometimes fact-free speculation, but what you see on your screen is a tale of sustained interest, not a drop-off. On the far left, you have that opening hearing dropping a whopping 20 million people combined, plus whoever reacted and watched further clips online. That was a primetime hearing. The daytime hearings you see drawing 10, 11 million. And you go back here to that final hearing, and it's up in the same realm, over 17.5 million, plus everything else that people heard as they discussed it over the weekend and online. So you take it all together, and what do you have here? Something that might not be cool to say because everyone likes to kind of play cool and say nothing matters anymore. There's kind of this weird nihilism that you hear across the political spectrum these days. But here's the facts, whether it's cool or not. Tens of millions of people are watching this. The evidence matters, and even on the right, let alone people who don't have a preconceived commitment to this particular ex-president, there is a dealing and a concern and a reckoning for the evidence that shows a president trying to end American democracy.